whilst we're on the thread of what's broken, the SIL model, because again, like providers always go, "Oh, I want to get into SIL. That's amazing!" Like everyone's keen to do it because they see the growth opportunity. Um, like when I think about SIL, of course, I've done coaching on this, so I understand the model well. But from a pure rental property perspective, it's really common that a provider has to typically rent and maybe sublet to their tenants, to their NDIS clients, rooms in a house, right? But the point is that there doesn't really seem to be a standardized actual model in terms of what is best practice in terms of what you're allowed to charge someone from their disability support pension or Commonwealth rental assistance, what you're allowed or not to charge for utilities or this or that. Like it's a lot of variability. But the bottom line seems to be consistently that the average provider is typically making a loss from a accommodation perspective. Like, would you agree with that statement first of all before we unpack it?
From personal experience, yes.
Mm.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, between rent, utilities, all of those things, furnishing a home, then you've got, yeah, the challenges around funding and ratios,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
all of those kinds of things that come into play.
mm-hmm.
It's, I think it's, yeah, it's a very challenging uh, road to go down.
Yes, exactly. Um, but what's the answer to that, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of because okay, with your coach's hat on, I know that you help providers thrive and have a business that can work. So it depends who you follow, right? There's a kind of a there's definitely a portion of the community in the industry that's like, oh my goodness, another SIL provider's closed its doors. Like, so there seems to be problems, and I know to a certain extent you can address that with various strategies that we're talking about, whether it be offshoring here or there or growing beyond a certain level. There are ways to fix it, but how much of a concern is this? Is this a kind of like a hey, we have to fix this, because otherwise, again, the industry is just going to continue to break. Like, how dangerous is this? If that makes sense.
I think from an NDIS perspective, probably something needs to change in that regard to be
Mm,
able to make this more feasible for SIL providers, whether
mm,
that's, yeah, looking at it more as a, yeah, I don't have those answers, but I think it definitely needs to come from a NDIS perspective of looking around rates and that kind of thing to be able to improve it. Uh, obviously there is lots of strategies and things that you can be making sure that you're implementing, but if you're doing all of those things, you can, yeah, and you're still struggling, then yeah, I guess it's one of those decisions you need to go into knowing, okay, can I go into this commitment running at a loss for the next 6 to 12 months? Will my business survive that before you go down that road?
mm,
And yeah, to fix that, I think and I guess lots of the larger still providers, it might be, okay, this house here is running at a loss while this one over here is running at a profit. So they're balancing each other out.
mm,
And that's where they're probably more so uh, getting through. They're
mm,
surviving
mm.
because of the balancing each other out. Then,
The risk to that, though, is that you have a less competitive marketplace, right? Because it means the small to mediums can't, well, not can't, they can, but there's a barrier to entry, right? So therefore, your Alliance 20 top 25 companies will continue to be the top 25, and they take up to 10% of the entire billings across Australia, right? So there's a risk that the giants remain the giants. It's like an oligarchy
mm,
if it's not systemically addressed. I guess that's my
yes,
point.
yeah, yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, something
Mm,
needs to change. I don't know what that would look like, but yeah.
mm. Yeah, of course, like there's the whole thing about some people can also live in. You can still not always, but you can have a SIL budget and still live in your own home, or you might live in community housing. You could also have SDA, specialist disability accommodation, in your plan, and that therefore tackles the risk on the accommodation side of things. Um, but again, that's a niche within a niche, isn't it?
Mm, yeah, very. yeah, it just gets so much more complex, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. It does. I mean, the truth is, there's not one individual that understands the entire NDIS model.
No, definitely not. It's a beast.
It is a beast. It is a beast. But you truly learn more through conversations like this, where you just keep on looking into it, diving into it, and discovering, right? And that's the best you can do, even as a participant, right? You only know it by being in it.